Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. On this channel, we spend our time looking at fantasy from all sources books, movies, games, television, anything we can think of, and taking the characters within and applying them into the tabletop game Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. Today we've got an extra special treat from the brand new show that the League of Legends producers have made called Arcane. We're going to be analyzing one of its most popular characters, Jinx. This blue-haired, Harley Quinn-esque beauty is an absolute killing machine, and her very interesting take on technology and her weaponry will make for an absolutely devastating character in D&D. But how could you take all of those things and apply them to D&D? Turns out, there's a way. You see, in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, there is a brand new class known as the Artificer. Technically, it was introduced in the Eberron book, but Tasha's Cauldron has the entire Artificer with all of its different subclasses and new spells and all that good stuff, so we'll be focused on that. Now, Jinx is an 18-year-old girl with only 100 pounds on her body, about 5'3". She's relatively short, white skin, long blue hair, and bluish-gray eyes. This character is a artillerist artificer. She is a person who focuses most of her power into her weapons and specifically her guns. And, for the record, this is not something I had to homebrew. This is a class that already exists, and the use of firearms is supported if you have a look at the Dungeon Master's Guide. There's actually a section in there specifically on how to incorporate firearms into your game. All I had to do was tweak it a little bit for Jinx's specific weaponry. I made her a tiefling. Her attitude and her different mental states and her connection to chaotic energies really spoke to me from a tiefling perspective. Her background is urchin, as anyone who's watched the show will know, and her alignment is chaotic evil, because she pretty much embodies chaotic evil. Like, you could use her as a poster child for it. I made her a level 15 artificer because she's an incredibly potent and deadly character, and while she's not the, god tier that you would expect from a level 20 character, she is absolutely level 15. As far as her stats go, she's a little stronger than the average person in hand-to-hand combat, so I gave her a 12 for strength. She is faster than lightning and is absolutely, the kind of person who could dodge a bullet. I gave her a 20 for her dexterity. She also has taken quite a few hits in her time, and I gave her a 14 for constitution. But her intelligence is where she really shines. She has a 20 intelligence, and I was tempted to stretch this up just a tad, but it turns out that being an artificer gives her all the power she needs for creating tech. We'll go over that in a minute. However, her wisdom suffers. Even though she can be a strategist when she needs to be, most of the time she's not. She goes into these chaotic rages and laughing fits, so I put her wisdom at a 10. And her charisma is a 12. She, again, can be cute and charming when she needs to be or under certain circumstances, but not much more so than another person who would look like her. Now, as far as languages go, Tieflings get Common and Infernal as their standard languages. I also went with an extra language that she was going to get from a different skill she gets, which I decided to go with Deep Speech. And my reasoning for that was that a lot of the time she hears, these cerebral voices in her head, and I think to myself that it would be reasonable to say that Jinx could be controlled by a Mind Flayer or something, so that made sense. Artificers get proficiency in light armor, medium armor, and shields. However, Jinx doesn't wear armor. She is proficient in simple weapons as well as with firearms, thanks to one of her other feats. And she is proficient in several tools, everything from thieves and tinkers to alchemists and smiths' tools. let's go over her feats real quick and her features. She gets Dark Vision and Hellish Resistance from her Tiefling background, and then a bunch of stuff as a Artificer. Magical Tinkering allows her to create small trinkets as an Artificer. She also gains her infusions, and we're going to go over what infusions she has at the end here. She can use Right Tool for the Job to summon up a pair of tools that she might need in the moment. And she also has Expertise when she uses tools. She gets the Flash of Genius power, which can help her in a pinch, the Magic Item Adept, and the Magic Item Savant, and the Spell Storing item, all things that enhance her ability to attune to magical items and to use items as magical conduits. As an artillerist, though, she actually gets the Eldritch Cannon. Now, this is a bit of a stretch because, again, she's not shown to use cannons per se in the show, but the idea that she could design a little like remote control cannon to follow her around and fire at her enemies is an easy thing to think about. She also gains Explosive Cannon, so the cannon can do more damage for her. And she gains the Arcane Firearm power, which allows something like a wand or a rod to become her arcane focus. And I decided I was going to make her guns her arcane focus. Just think about a metal wand that can be loaded with ammunition, and you have the arcane focus. She also, because she's level 15, gets the Fortified Position power. And she got 3 feats that I gave her. I gave her the Gunner feat, so she would get all of her proficiencies in weapons that she needed. The Prodigy and Skill Expert. She actually is proficient in 6 skills, 2 of which she has expertise in thanks to her feats. She's proficient in acrobatics. She has expertise in arcana. She has proficiency in investigation, perception, and sleight of hand, and expertise in stealth. Now, she also is going to have an armor class of 17, which we'll explain in a moment because she doesn't wear armor, and a speed of 30 as standard by her race. She is proficient in unarmed combat, although she doesn't do a whole lot of damage with it, only hitting for 2 damage every time she punches. She carries a pistol with her, which is unenchanted in this case. It's just a regular old firearm. But her main weapon of choice is her minigun. Her minigun is actually one of her infusions, the Enhanced Focus and the Enhanced Weapon. It's 2 infusions. I gave this single item 2 separate infusions. And it is a +2 magic item in and of itself. This, again, kind of breaks the rules a little bit because you're not supposed to put infusions on magic items, but we're homebrewing a little bit here. Tweaking the rules because Jinx likes to break them. In total, this gives her minigun a +14 to hit, and it does 2d12 +9 damage, and has the burst fire feature, so it can fire in a volley, causing a kind of cone attack. She also carries a bag of holding as one of her infusions, in which she carries grenades, smoke grenades and frag grenades. Again, covered in the Dungeon Master's Guide, so you can go look that up for all their stats, but the long and short of it is a frag grenade does 5d6 damage in an area. She also wears the Necklace of Adaptation, another infusion, that allows her to breathe in toxic areas. We see them doing this in the show often. And she wears the Bracers of Defense. This is how she manages to maintain her armor class so high, because she doesn't wear armor or use a shield. So the Bracers of Defense bump her up in that regard. And then finally, we're going to go over her spell list. She is a half-caster with her Intelligence as her spellcasting ability. Her cantrips, I gave her Thaumaturgy because she's a tiefling. She also has Create Bonfire, Fire Bolt, Mending, and Thunderclap. That seemed appropriate for her. She has Hellish Rebuke as a tiefling. And then her level 1 spells are Shield, Thunder Wave, Expeditious Retreat, Fairy Fire, Grease, and Jump. These are all things that we can see her doing as a character in the show, throwing light bombs, going really, really fast, jumping high, blocking attacks, causing shock waves with her explosions. You just have to imagine that instead of using magic, she's using tech to do it, but that's not a hard stretch. Her level 2 spells include Darkness, as the Tiefling again, Scorching Ray, Shatter, Heat Metal, and Pyrotechnics. These abilities, again, very, very fitting for the Artificer in the modern or, postmodern League of Legends fantasy world. At level 3rd spells, she has Fireball, Wind Wall, Haste, Tiny Servant, think about her having little mechanical helpers, Blink, and Flame Arrows to make her bullets, because they're projectiles and ammunition, on fire. Finally, for her level 4 spell, she has Ice Storm and Wall of Fire, as well as Summon Construct and Fabricate. These are all abilities that you could easily see her having in the right circumstance. So, this all amounts to an incredibly potent gun-wielding psycho woman psycho girl really, because she's only 18, who presents an immense threat on the battlefield. This character has phenomenal power with her guns, her grenades, and honestly, even her magical weapons grant her AC. I imagine them being her ability to not block attacks, but pretty much dodge all the time. And since she's so fast and has spells to enhance her power, such as Haste and Blink, and even Expeditious Retreat and Jump, this makes her absolutely uncanny and very, very powerful. And I think that she would serve a phenomenal purpose as a villain or as the anti-hero of a highly a campaign that stretches into the high tech. So you wouldn't want to put her in a high fantasy campaign with the swords and the bows. You'd want her to have a fair world to live in, otherwise she's just too powerful. Anyway, this has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review covering Jinx from League of Legends, and specifically the show Arcane. If you enjoyed the episode, please like and subscribe down below. Keep your eyes open for some more characters coming from your favorite fantasy games and television shows coming down the line. Have a good one, my friends.